Penguin Random House Audio presents Here We Go, Lessons for Living Fearlessly from Two Traveling Nanas by Eleanor Hamby and Dr. Sandra Hazelip with Elisa Petrini. Narrated by Eleanor Hamby and Dr. Sandra Hazelip.
To our late husbands, Kelly Hamby and Don Hazelip, whose love empowered us and encouraged us to fulfill our dreams, it was a privilege and a joy to share our Christian walk in this life with two great men of faith.
Travel enables us to enrich our lives with new experiences, to enjoy and to be educated, to learn respect for foreign cultures, to establish friendships, and above all, to contribute to international cooperation and peace throughout the world. Jules Verne. Prologue. The Bali Swing. If there's a single image that captures our lives in our 80s, it's this. The two of us, Ellie Hamby and Sandy Hazelip, legs outstretched, sneaker soles peeking from the hems of our flowing gowns, swinging off a cliff in Bali. We're hundreds of feet above a patchwork of green, lush, terraced rice fields and flowering slopes, scared to look down, but shouting with joy and wonder. As Sandy says, we felt like butterflies. That day, we'd set out exploring with Ketut, our driver in Bali. When we travel together, we never stick to guidebooks but ask local people what to see. Maybe because we're grandmothers, everyone seems happy to help. Often, we strike up lasting friendships with guides, drivers, servers, and shopkeepers that are rewarding adventures in themselves. When we asked Ketut where to go, he took us to Mount Batur, an active volcano sacred to Brahma, the Hindu fire god. Near its peak, there's a beautiful lake in a caldera, or caved-in crater, that formed thousands of years ago. Along the narrow two-lane mountain road were slopes on either side, planted with rice or else wild with tropical flora and giant ferns. There were few cars, mostly just workers in bamboo hats on foot or on bikes, with the occasional motor scooter zipping along. We were lulled by the beautiful scenery until Ellie called out, "Hey, what's that?" She'd spotted a tiny sign, so Ketut turned back. The sign read, "Happy Swing." "We're all about happy," Ellie said. "Let's check it out." At the end of a short path, we came upon an open-air stand serving cokes and tea, and beyond that, at the cliff's edge, poised over a sheer 150-foot drop, wooden frames that held different swings. One was the old-fashioned kind, a board on two cables that would leave your legs dangling. Another was a double-seater that looked more like a porch swing with a low, slatted back and a deep-as-a-bed padded seat. Wow! We just looked at each other and said, "Let's do it." We didn't have a moment's doubt. "Hold on," the owner told us. "You have to pick out dresses." "No, thank you," Sandy said. "It seems silly to dress up." But he insisted, "Believe me, you'll want to. Really, you must." He hauled out a giant suitcase crammed full of dresses in all colors. They were ankle length and huge enough for us to pull over our clothes. So, giggling a little, we both chose red ones, which fit us like muumuus, then stepped back to admire each other. To our surprise, we looked sort of queenly and didn't feel silly at all. We felt ceremonial. Hitching our skirts up out of the dirt, we made our way to the double swing. 2 workers pulled it back and steadied it as we settled on the padded seat, propped against the back with our legs out straight. There were no harnesses or seat belts, just a couple of thin cords to circle our waist. We felt around nervously for a railing to clutch for dear life, but the workers said, "No, you don't need to hang on. Let your hands be free." Deep breaths, eyes wide, excited. We exchanged another "we're in this together" grin. Then the workers gave a giant heave and released the swing. We were soaring, reaching high into the cloudless blue sky, then falling back to glimpse a collage of color far below. The only sounds were the wind's slight whoosh and our own nervous whoas and excited gasps. Suspended in space, we were totally wrapped. It was as if years fell away and we were restored magically to the pure freedom of childhood. We're dear friends whose thoughts often seem to meld, and we reveled in shared delight and fear-tinged excitement. But close as we are, we're very different people. Sandy is a charmer, and Ellie is a daredevil. So we both knew that Ellie couldn't resist an even bigger thrill. Sure enough, back on solid ground, Ellie beelined straight to the single swing. "Can I do this one?" she asked the workers, who looked shocked. Unfazed, she sat on the terrifying backless board and, gripping the cables, smiled as she was shoved off the cliff into thin air. It was heart-stopping for Sandy to see Ellie outlined against the sky, red skirt fluttering so far above the ground. But Ellie seemed utterly fearless, exulting in the sensation, with her head thrown back, laughing. "It was exhilarating," she said later. "Of course, if I slipped, I would have been a goner." But our philosophy, within reason, is, what do we have to lose? Ellie says, "I'd rather die falling off a mountain than out of a bed in a nursing home," assuming that I'm lucky enough to choose. To us, life is more than a 2-act play, youth and adulthood, followed only by shrinking horizons and decline. Our families are grown, and though we enjoy full-time work in rewarding careers serving others, we're busy staging and living an inspiring Act 3. The gift of age is freedom, and how better to enjoy it than by opening our hearts and minds to adventure and exploring our great, big, wonderful world.
The trip that got us to the happy swing in Bali was Sandy's idea. One night, as we sat at Ellie's kitchen table, drinking coffee and reminiscing about past adventures, Sandy said, "We have a milestone birthday coming up. Wouldn't it be fun to celebrate turning 80 by going around the world in 80 days?" After a pause, Ellie leaned toward Sandy. "I love it." 80 days. That was a long stretch away from our lives, work, and families, relying only on each other. Circling the globe at such a pace might be grueling, or worse, might rush us too much to let us fully experience and enjoy other cultures. But we both love a challenge and immediately did a search on Phileas Fogg, the fictional Jules Verne hero who made an infamous 80-day trip to win a bet. Interestingly, the first real person to test his record was a woman, the intrepid newspaper reporter Nellie Bly. In 1889, traveling by steamship, train, and the occasional rickshaw, she covered 25,000 miles in 72 days, beating Fogg's 80-day deadline.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?